Well, I'm off to the garden to build another trellis and plant some more peas. But I just had to give you a little glimpse of how things are progressing here in the light garden. Plants, of course, the speed of their growth depends on the size of the plant. When the plant is small, it grows very slowly, but as it gets more leaf surface, so it can make more energy, they grow much faster, and all of a sudden things here are really taking off. This is the squash and pumpkins and cucumbers that I planted a week ago. They're starting to come up. Very large leaves because they're more larger seeds, of course, but they're coming through the soil and really racing ahead. I hope they don't grow too big before I can plant them outside. There's still danger of frost. Quite cold this morning. I won't plant anything out for another couple of weeks yet. I guess I'm really optimistic about the square foot garden. I bought myself a new freezer delivered yesterday, just a 7 cubic foot one, but someplace hopefully to save all the veg that I grow this summer so I won't go to waste. The Kyria japonica, Japanese Kyria, still isn't in full bloom, but it's got many more blossoms on it than it had the last time, I guess. Still no blossoms, but the candles are getting bigger on the red flowering horse chestnut. I would say another week or so it'll be in bloom. There's a lot of blossom on it this year. Well, the 3 tomato plants that I put inside the pop-up greenhouse have survived several cold nights, so I guess the little greenhouse is doing its job, and they seem to have grown quite a bit too. Get an early start on them. I'll leave the greenhouse on until, I don't know, first or second week of June anyway. My one lonely white trillium in my wildflower garden. People in Ontario get a laugh out of that. Every ditch up there is this time of year, a little earlier, I guess, up there is full of them. It's their provincial flower. This came in from a place in Ontario a number of years ago. For some reason it just doesn't seem to multiply. This is another trillium. I can never remember the name of it. It's just got pretty foliage, and that silly looking thing in the center, that is the blossom, and that's as showy as it gets. So not all that interesting, but it is another variety of wild trillium. Well, I have 2 potted fig trees. They're actually cuttings that I rooted off of a fig tree that I had for years in a very large terracotta pot. It got so heavy I couldn't carry it in the house in the wintertime, so I made a couple of rootings and unfortunately had to dispose of the other tree. This is Ficus celeste, which is the same fig, if you ever traveled anywhere in the Mediterranean, that you see growing in the ditches there everywhere. It's starting to leave out already. Grows quite nicely in my garden. I've even had the occasional fig off of it, not too many. It will produce figs, just our season isn't long enough to ripen them. And that is a big problem here, I guess. Anyway, when the leaves fall off in the fall, I just put it in the basement and ignore it for the winter. And come spring, the leaves start to come back out on it again. So right now I'm putting it down back of the house because this part of the house only has sunlight in the morning. Come afternoon, it will be in the shade. I don't want to burn the new leaves. So eventually I'll take it out and put it in the hidden garden. A YouTube friend, Gia Dacadien, is planting his potatoes today in seaweed in containers. I don't have any seaweed, but I have a compost bin that's full of rich compost, so I've decided to take these potatoes, which certainly have sprouted, out of my basement and plant them in a couple of containers and see what happens. I think these are potatoes left over from my garden last year. The variety was red Pontiac, and these look to me to be quite red. They've been in the basement all winter while I was away, and they've grown sprouts pretty near a foot long, so we'll plant them and see what happens. Well, as dark and rich as this compost looks, it should be very happy potatoes. I'm going to put them in 2 large black pots. I think trees came in them years ago, but I've planted many different things in them in the summertime. Put a layer of compost in the bottom, and now I'm just going to cover the potatoes with some more of the compost. And I'll keep burying them up to, I don't know, the top 2 or 3 inches of those stems. And as they grow and develop more leaves, I will fill the pot up to within 2 or 3 inches of the top. Still lots of compost left in the old composter. I'll be filling up the potato
tubs with it later on. I guess I'll have some still to put around the gardens.
I had enough potatoes to do my 2 round tubs, plus I used one of these plastic totes and put 5 in it. Well, time will tell. See what happens here. Well, that's another trellis installed. Thankfully, the last one that I have to lift over top of a 3-foot fence before I can put it up. That part is not easy. And I've planted at the back, next to the trellis, another row of the tall telephone heritage peas. I had planned to plant a row of cannellini, the Italian pole beans that are a shell bean. You dry them and shell them out and use them in other recipes, cooking them. You don't eat them as a fresh bean. And I got a package of the seeds from the Yahoo Heritage Seed Group. I had never bothered to open it. I opened it last night. There are exactly 5 seeds in it. So I planted 1 in each one of the cells with the peas and another one over with my other peas that are already up. I'm not so sure that they're cannellini beans. They were very big seeds, and from my recollection of eating them, they're not that big a bean. But anyway, whatever they are, hopefully I'll have 5 plants of them growing here at some point. Just a look of the peas that are already up and growing. They're doing quite nicely. Be a bit yet before they're climbing on the trellis, but they're growing. I can see where they're getting bigger every day.
Well, the last garden project of the day, I'm trying to get the greenhouse planted. Got my grow bags today. They arrived at the Co-op Garden Center. I like this product. It's made in New Brunswick, too. Made by Green World. The particular bag is called Type VPW30. I was told last year that it's the same bag that some professional growers use in commercial greenhouses to grow tomatoes and cucumbers, and all like what I'm growing here. Grow bags are particularly popular in Europe. A lot of them used in England. These things that I'm pushing down into the grow bags are called grow bag pots, and they came from England. I bought them through Lee Valley in Ontario, but as you can see, they have a serrated edge on the bottom, and you just twist it around and shove it down into the grow bag, and some of the soil comes up in the center cone where you can plant your seedling. And then there's a watering ring out around for watering later on when the plant's got its roots down into the bag more. You use the top area first, but then the other area has holes so the water will drain down into the grow bag. Well, that's the grow pots installed. Now to plant some seedlings and my greenhouse cucumber seeds. I don't have enough of the pots to go around and put in all of the grow bags, but that's not a problem. I just cut an X in the top and flap the ends under and plant directly in the bag. It works just as well as it does with the fancy grow pot. It's the first time I've had a flat of the seedlings out from under the lights in the grow garden. They look quite good. There's 2 varieties of tomatoes that I'm going to be planting out here right now. One is black cherry tomato, and the other one is Buckbee's New. They're both old heritage varieties. By the looks of things, these cabbages and kale and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and whatever could be transplanted out pretty soon too. And in the center here, those are the ground cherries. They're starting to get some 2nd and 3rd leaves. I planted 2 of the greenhouse cucumber seeds, 6 of the Buckbee's New brand of tomatoes, and 2 of the black cherry. I'll save the rest of the tomato plants to plant out in the garden. And I have 2 grow bags that I haven't used yet. I plan to try some of my cayenne peppers and some eggplant in them later. Here's one of the things I did ran out. I just cut an X and planted directly into it.